Eu sou muito emotivo.
I'm very emotional.
Eu vibro.
I start shaking, and the hairs go on end just at the beginning of the national anthem.
Já fico arrepiado, está dentro de mim isso.
And I get to extremes.
Só que você não pode.
I get to the extreme of happiness when I win a title.
Você chega a extremo de felicidade.
That's how I am. I get excited. I cry. I get unbelievably emotional.
Uma alegria fora do comum.
Brazilian football has always been defined by its national team, and in particular World Cup success. And on this greatest stage, one man has accomplished more than anyone. Mário Zagallo won the World Cup twice as a player. He coached the national team that won the World Cup in 1970, and then returned 24 years later to help Brazil to their fourth triumph. No one has more World Cup winners' medals than Mário Zagallo.
He had his tactics and the way he wanted to play, but he also gave the players freedom if they felt something wasn't working.
It's really a unique story. It's an incredible story. He's a person with very strong values who has always lived for football, while also staying up to date with the game.
What Zagallo did when he became Brazil manager was not just bring in new players and change the tactics of the team, he changed the whole philosophy of how they played.
June the 21st, 1970, the World Cup final, Mexico City. In the searing heat and leading Italy 3-1 with only 4 minutes remaining, Brazil could have been forgiven for playing out time. Instead, they attacked once more. It was the beautiful game in microcosm, spontaneous, fluid, free-flowing, instinctive. Or at least, that's how it appeared.
A lot of people thought that fourth goal I scored was just improvisation. That's what Brazilians do. Carlos Alberto just came along and scored. But that wasn't the case. Our coach Zagallo had planned that move. We practiced it before the game.
All I had to do was control it and pass it. I didn't need to look behind me to know that Carlos Alberto was making the run.
It was like a photo of what Zagallo had told us. For me, it was great because I was lucky enough to score the fourth goal. And even today, everyone talks about it.
This story of success begins with Mário Zagallo, the player. He made his name on the left side of midfield for Botafogo and Flamengo, Rio's premier sides. In 1958, he was part of the victorious World Cup team, scoring the fourth goal as Brazil beat host Sweden 5-2 in the final. Zagallo's contribution to that team was vital.
Zagallo was the first ever attacking player to drop back and make up a 4-3-3 formation. He completed the midfield as the third man. I don't think it would be an exaggeration to say that he was the missing link in this tactical formation. And the fact that Brazil became world champions made that formation become the norm.
We won playing a really good brand of football, fluid, with a good touch, artistic play. It was incredible and new. Only those who were in the stadium in Sweden could really bear witness to the incredible level of football that Brazil played.
4 years later, Mário Zagallo grabbed his next taste of glory. Brazil defeated Czechoslovakia 3-1 in the 1962 World Cup final. And Zagallo had his second World Cup winners' medal. By 1966, he'd made the step to management at Botafogo, where he'd ended his playing career. Botafogo were one of the strongest clubs in Brazil, but Zagallo had major work to do. Legends like Nilton Santos, Didi and Garrincha were coming to the end of their careers. So Zagallo turned towards the next generation, transforming the likes of Gerson, Paulo César Lima and Jairzinho into star names.
His rise as coach was extremely quick. In very little time, he went from a youth team coach with little experience to the first team coach. And with the help of a lot of players he promoted from that youth team, he put together another great Botafogo side in about 1966-1967.
Zagallo and Botafogo won 9 trophies in 4 years, but the national team was struggling. After exiting the 1966 World Cup in the first round, former journalist João Saldanha was brought in as manager. But he was an accident waiting to happen. A member of the Communist Party, which upset Brazil's military dictatorship, he refused to pick Dario, President Medici's favourite player. Things were about to come to a head.
Saldanha's great error, and this is only my opinion, as someone who was there at the time, was when he got some heavy criticism from Flamengo's coach, Ustrich, who's no longer with us. So then he went after Ustrich, with a gun trying to shoot the Flamengo coach. That was his great mistake, as obviously doing that had some very negative repercussions.
As the 1970 World Cup loomed, the Brazilian FA moved quickly to install a new coach. 39-year-old Mário Zagallo got the job. He was a popular choice.
We'd known him as one of our teammates. And, like all the great coaches I've seen or played under, Zagallo was happy to listen to the players. Zagallo gave us that freedom to share ideas. He didn't consider himself to be the only one who knew anything.
Despite their good form in qualifying, Zagallo had much work to do. Failure to perform in England in the 1966 tournament had left its mark on the Brazilian psyche. The team were unused to the aggressive tactics used by European nations. The manager had to toughen up his squad.
I remember that after that World Cup, when Brazil were almost surprised by the way the Europeans had played, a football based on physical strength or power football. Then there were a lot of people saying that Brazil had to change their game. Brazilian football isn't violent by nature. And so we didn't know how to play hard, like the Europeans.
I learned how to defend myself. I was never malicious, though. Everyone knows that. I learned to go in a little harder sometimes. You have to impose a little bit of respect, especially when you played against countries like Uruguay or Argentina. The same in Europe, against countries like Czechoslovakia, Hungary and England, where they play a very, very physical game. So you did have to learn to stick up for yourself, and that's what I did.
Zagallo insisted on a physical regime like never before. To succeed in the heat of Mexico, his side would need to be fitter and stronger than any other team.
We prepared for 21 days in Guanajuato, which is at the same altitude as Mexico City. So our preparation was done scientifically and with the aim of winning the title.
Physically, I was in the best shape I'd ever been in, thanks to the preparation we'd had.
We were the best prepared team from a physical point of view in that World Cup.
But Zagallo was more than just a hard taskmaster. He was a strategist who loved analysing the game.
In 1970, when I took over the side, the team was playing 4-2-4. And the way I saw it, even though Brazil had qualified playing in a 4-2-4, they were playing in South America. But I thought, you couldn't play 4-2-4 in a World Cup. It was out of date. If we'd already changed in Sweden in 1958 to 4-3-3, why will I suddenly revert to a 4-2-4?
Eu ia jogar num 4-2-4.
Zagallo had the awareness to realise that the teams Brazil would face in the World Cup played in a very different manner to the South American teams. And above all, nearly all those teams used tactical systems that could cause problems for Brazil.
Brazil were nearly the finished article, but not quite. The strength of the squad meant the talented Rivellino found a starting place hard to come by. So Zagallo looked to his past to find a solution.
Edu was a great left-sided player, but when I sat next to him, when Zagallo was presented as manager, he said to me, "Riva, I won't play anymore." And I said, "Edu, don't be stupid, you won't get dropped." And he said, no, the tactics will kill me. Zagallo likes to play with a winger who sits deeper. That was his position when he played in 58 and 62.
As Pelé was the most marked man, Zagallo brought Rivellino into the midfield. That 4-3-3 we ended up playing with was due to Rivellino.
If Zagallo hadn't been coached, then I doubt Rivellino would have even played. That's the reality. This idea of Zagallo's to play Rivellino on the left allowed him to get into the team. And that was great for him.
Suddenly, Zagallo picked me to play on the left against Austria, the last game Brazil played before the World Cup. And that was very important for me, because I played well, scored a goal and was man of the match. From that point on, I never left the team.
Rivellino is unbelievably intelligent. He was incredibly skillful, especially with his left foot. He scored free kicks, was a great passer, so they tried him out playing on the left wing. And that's when that Brazil side really became complete.
It was a masterstroke from the manager. Rivellino was the new star and opened the scoring against Czechoslovakia in Brazil's opening game. A goal from Pelé and two from Jairzinho saw a 4-1 win immediately justify Zagallo's team selection. The hard work behind the scenes was paying off.
It was at the end of that game that we felt everything we'd gone through, everything we'd worked for, and it was 3 months of hard work, was beginning to show results. We all felt fine after the match. No one was tired or exhausted. So we said, right, we're ready to win the World Cup.
Next were World Cup holders England. Once again, Zagallo's preparation was meticulous.
We studied the opposition and had various meetings, and we knew that was the big game of the World Cup for us. Why? Because we were up against an England side who we considered, and most people considered, the favourites to win that World Cup. So we knew that game was the key.
And his team delivered. Jairzinho scored the only goal.
It was like a game of chess. We could have lost it 1-0, or drawn, or won 1-0. It was a sensational game, played in the head, which we were lucky enough to win.
Romania and Peru were beaten before Brazil met Uruguay in the semi-finals, a repeat of the 1950 World Cup final defeat 20 years earlier, known to Brazilians as the tragedy of the Maracanã. When Uruguay opened the scoring, Brazil feared the worst, but Zagallo's tactical genius came into play.
Jairzinho was being marked out of the game right from the start. So what did they do? Jairzinho and Clodoaldo swapped positions. Jairzinho played deeper and Clodoaldo played further forward, so that confused the Uruguayans, and Brazil, who up until that point had been playing very badly, were able to level the game with a goal from Clodoaldo as if he was the striker.
But 1-1 at half-time meant Zagallo still had work to do.
I had to give them a talking to and get their heads right to get the team going. We had to forget the opposition and say that we were better, but we weren't playing our best football. Brazil won because of my team talk, and they went out after half-time like a different team. We went on to win 3-1 and stay on the road to the title.
That victory had given the side the belief they needed. The final would be in Mexico City against Italy. It would be one of the greatest ever witnessed. Mário Zagallo had his hands on the World Cup for a third time, the first man ever to win as player and coach. He was the mastermind behind one of the greatest sides the world had ever seen, but with a special bond at their core.
It was good, but all the games were good. One of the advantages of Zagallo's team is that we didn't depend on Pelé, or Tostão, or Jairzinho. It was a group effort. That was the important thing.
We won easily. Why? Because our bodies were prepared to play at 2,300 meters above sea level in the capital. And that was because of our preparation in Guanajuato, so that we wouldn't feel the problems that came with altitude. That's how Brazil's third World Cup was won.
Zagallo returned to Brazil at club level, winning titles with Fluminense and Flamengo, before taking charge of the national side at the 1974 World Cup. In the semi-finals, they would face Holland, inspired by Johan Cruyff.
The big game was against Brazil, the World Champion, so that was really a game where everybody was focused and everybody did what they had to do.
Goals from Johan Neyskens and Cruyff sent Holland through to their first World Cup final. Brazil were out.
It was not only the result at the end, well, it could be 2-1, 3-1 or 3-0 or 2-0. It didn't even matter. We just played football which the world loved, and that against the Brazilian.
Zagallo would enjoy success in the Middle East with Kuwait and Al Hilal, before he led the United Arab Emirates to their first World Cup in 1990. But 4 years later, he returned to the Brazil setup again, assisting Carlos Alberto Pereira at the World Cup in America.
I think he always had a very simple way about him, but also very up-to-date too. In each role he had for the national team, he knew how to act. He knew how to give something of himself, his personality, his identity, and, of course, his great passion for football.
Just like 1970, it would be Italy in the final. The game was much closer, but Brazil triumphed again, 3-2 on penalties. The victory would mean an incredible fourth World Cup winners' medal for Mário Zagallo.
I always felt we would win. There was just something telling me that at the end of the day, Brazil would be champions. And I think we all had that feeling. And that win led to the renaissance of Brazilian football.
That renaissance was led by Zagallo, now head coach of Brazil once again. Nearly 3 decades after managing Pelé to World Cup success, a new superstar was emerging under his care: Ronaldo.
He wasn't thrown into the team like Pelé had been, but we gave him the chance to experience being part of a World Cup winning team. Even though he didn't play, he experienced that atmosphere, and that was very important in his life.
By 1997, Ronaldo was established in the national side. which Zagallo steered to victory in the Copa America and Confederations Cup. The following year he led Brazil to the World Cup final against France. But hours before kick-off, Zagallo's management was tested like never before.
In '98, we had a serious problem with Ronaldo's health. After lunch, on the day of the game, he suffered a fit.
Seeing how Ronaldo looked 6 hours before the game, it was a really bad image. Obviously seeing that gets to you and upsets you.
He was out of the game. An athlete who just had a fit couldn't play. So he went off to the clinic and I didn't see him again.
Ronaldo did not travel with the team. Edmundo was picked in his place. But just moments before kick-off, the picture changed.
Ronaldo's there in our little office, already wearing his socks, shorts and shirt. I thought it was strange. But he said to me, "Zagallo, don't take this away from me. I'm fine. It happened 7 hours ago. But I'm fine now. The test gave me the all clear. I want to play."
Unfortunately, moments before the game, it resulted in all that confusion as to whether Ronaldo would play or not. Obviously, that affected the spirit of the group.
We had to make a decision, and that decision was made. Ronaldo, you do know what you're saying. Zagallo, I'm not a kid. If something was wrong with me, I'd tell you. So what happened? I said, "Right, you're in the team. You'll play."
The gamble backfired. Ronaldo was clearly not right, and neither were Brazil. France won 3-0. For Zagallo, there would be no 5th World Cup winners' medal. And to compound the situation, he then had to face the press.
Ronaldo ended up playing. I thought several times about playing him or not playing him, but ultimately I thought he might be able to give us a spark.
Why play him, Zagallo?
He played because he played. I've got the character to come here and talk. You all owe me a lot. I'm here because I'm a man. I have no idea what sort of character you have. I have moral dignity to say what I'm saying. I'm not so sure about you.
I understand the situation Zagallo was in. We're not talking about any old player. We're talking about the best player in the world at the time, and a World Cup final. Obviously, he wasn't in good condition, but it's very difficult to criticize the decision.
I would do exactly the same thing if the whole thing happened again.
In 2006, Zagallo returned yet again to assist Carlos Alberto Pereira at the World Cup in Germany. Elimination, again by France in the quarter-finals, marked his final game with the national team. That 5th World Cup winners' medal never arrived, but his involvement in 7 World Cups with Brazil is unlikely ever to be matched. In April 2011, Zagallo was named an ambassador for Botafogo. Now in his 80s, he hopes his experience and knowledge will help raise funds to invest in youth football. His love for the game remains as strong as ever. Directly involved in 4 of Brazil's 5 World Cup triumphs, Mário Zagallo was a master tactician and a skilled motivator, who's experienced success wherever he's gone. One of football's greatest ever managers, his status as a hero in Brazil is secure.
Zagallo was obliged to make fairly radical changes to the national team. And those changes, along with the physical work that Brazil did, all of that led to Brazil winning the World Cup. If you take into account all the titles he won, including the regional titles, then I think you'd have to put Zagallo up there as one of the top 10 coaches in the history of football, for sure.
To be able to understand what's going on today and be up to date with everything and understand what's going on inside the heads of players and new tactical schemes over so many years. I'm talking about from 58 to 98. So that's 40 years of football. Then I think that deserves great credit. So I think he's definitely one of the greatest managers in the history of the game.
I've got a portrait of me crying at home. I've got a lot, but crying is good. Winning is good, because I won't cry if we're losing. If you cry, it means everything's gone well.